I want to start with a simple truth. We need to stop asking how someone ended up drinking during pregnancy and start asking why they had no safe options. Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, or FASD, is a lifelong brain based disability caused by prenatal alcohol exposure. But here's the part most people don't understand: alcohol doesn't damage the fetus because the mother didn't care. It happens because of how trauma rewires the brain. When someone is in survival mode, the brain operates from the amygdala, the fight, flight, or freeze center, not the prefrontal cortex, where logic and long term planning happen, the wise elder part of the brain. This means even when a pregnant person knows the risks, if they're experiencing active trauma, homelessness, abuse, or withdrawal, their brain can't access the decision making skills they need. That's not a personal failure. That's a nervous system protecting itself in the only way it knows how. In one of our interviews, a young mom says, "I didn't wake up thinking I'd hurt my baby. I just woke up needing to not feel cold. And I didn't have a blanket, but I had a bottle." Another mother says, "I asked for plan B, and the nurse said, 'You should have thought of that before.' So I stopped asking." These aren't just stories. These are the real voices behind the stigma. Voices from sexual assault survivors, from women couch surfing with no access to birth control, from youth raised by grandparents who were raised in residential school and were never taught how to talk about sex, consent, or safety.
Back in my time, nobody told us we didn't have pamphlets, no workshops. Doctors, they barely spoke to us, let alone explain anything. I was young, barely 18, partying like everyone else. I didn't know I was pregnant till I was months in when I found out. They didn't say anything about alcohol. They just told me to take my iron pills. My boy, he struggled all his life. I didn't understand why he was so different from the other kids, why he couldn't sit still, why school hated him, why jobs didn't keep him. It wasn't until I was already a grandmother that some young worker came around the house and started talking to me about FASD, and it hit me like a punch in the chest. I carry that shame. Not because I didn't care, but because no one told me. If we want this to stop, we got to start with being honest, not blame. We didn't fail. The system failed us. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We are not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
After that night, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The flashbacks came out of nowhere. One second I was fine, and the next I was crying and angry. So I drank, not to party, not for fun, just to shut everything off. My pain was too heavy to focus on anything else. Weeks went by. Then I found out I was pregnant. And all I could think was, oh my God, I already ruined it. I already failed as a mother. How will everyone treat me now? But I wasn't trying to hurt my baby. I was trying to survive what someone else did to me. This is what people don't see when they talk about FASD. It's not about bad choices. It's about the pain and no one helping you through it. If we really cared about prevention, we need to stop blaming moms and start asking who helped her after the trauma. Who believed her? This isn't my story. but it's one of our stories. We are not just floating uteruses. We are humans with some life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
When I moved in with Grandma, I thought I'd be safe, but not seen. She fed me, prayed over me, but we didn't talk. Not about that stuff. When I was late, like my period, I panicked. Wanted to go to the clinic, asked for plan B, but I couldn't ever say the words. Because Grandma went to residential school, she says sex is a sin. She still doesn't look at me the same way since I got pregnant for the first time. So I kept it quiet. I drank a little just to calm down, just to stop the guilt. And then I bought a cheap test from the drugstore on my lunch break. I found out I was pregnant again. People think you should just ask for help. But how do you ask when your caregiver's trauma is louder than your voice? If plan B was easier to get, if I didn't need to explain it or ask permission or risk being shamed, I might have made a different choice. We don't need more silence. We need access. We need care that doesn't punish us for the pain we inherited. I don't want to hurt my baby. I just didn't want to hurt my grandma either. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We're not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
When I found out about FASD, I started seeing it in my boy's eyes. Not in a bad way, just the way he moved through the world. I wanted to say something to someone, to anyone, but the words wouldn't come. Every time I opened my mouth, I pictured all the things people would say. Why didn't you stop drinking? Or didn't you know better? But I didn't know better. No one told me. I wasn't safe back then, and alcohol felt safer than the people around me. I tried to bring it up with the nurse once. She looked at me like I was poison. I walked out of that clinic and never went back. I carried that silence with me. Every day, I know my son needs support, but how do I get him the support without putting a target on my back? I'm not ashamed of my son. I'm ashamed that the world made me too afraid to speak up for him. I wish I didn't have to whisper the truth. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We are just not floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
I thought drinking made me strong. I thought it made me brave. After everything I survived, the beating, the foster home, the loneliness, I was angry and wild. Drink to show the world that I didn't care. But when I got pregnant, I kept drinking. Not because I didn't love my baby, but because I didn't know how to stop. Nobody ever taught me how to love myself, how to be gentle with my own heart. I look at the girl now, a grown woman, struggling through life, fighting battles that I was handed down to her. And I ask myself, what good was all that girl talk? What good it, it was to pretend it didn't work. I should have been soft, should have asked for help, but all I knew is fight and drink, and I chose drink. That's my biggest regret, not just the drinking and not knowing to be gentle with myself, with her. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We're just not floating uterus. We are human with life experience and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
He wasn't always like this. In the beginning, he bought me flowers, held my belly, said we'd raise our baby in love and culture. Now I can't leave the house without asking. Can't answer my phone if he's home. I can't say no. I can't breathe sometimes. He's the father of my child. I know what people say. Just leave. But where would I go? I got no job, no sober family who can take me in. If I leave, he'll find me, and it'll be worse. Sometimes after he yells, or worse, I drink just enough to forget, just enough to sleep. I didn't plan to drink when I was pregnant. I was just trying to survive the abuse. I love my baby more than anything, but you can't protect someone else if no one ever protected you. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We are not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
It was -30 that night, and I didn't have a safe place to rest. I hadn't had one in months. I was on wait lists everywhere. Guy offered me a couch and something to drink. Said it would help me sleep. And honestly, I didn't want to feel anything anymore. I already knew I was pregnant. I knew. I also haven't eaten in 2 days. I didn't even have a warm coat. You tell me what part of my brain was supposed to make a smart decision then. I was in survival mode, just trying to get to morning. FASD prevention isn't about shaming people. It's about asking why they're drinking in the first place, and then showing up with real support. With the housing crisis in the north, we need more safe and warm options to rest. If I had housing, and if I had food, if I had a safe place to rest, maybe I would have made a different choice. But I didn't. This isn't my story, but it's one of ours. We're not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
I thought that drinking made me strong. I thought it made me brave. After everything I survived, the beatings, the foster homes, the loneliness, I was angry, wild. I used to drink to show the world I didn't care. Oh, but when I got pregnant, I kept drinking. Not because I didn't love my baby, but I didn't know how to stop. No one ever taught me how to love myself or how to be gentle with my own heart. I look at my girl now, full grown, struggling with her own life, fighting battles I handed down to her. And I ask myself, what was all that big girl talk? What good was pretending that it didn't hurt? I should have been soft. I should have asked for help. But all I knew was how to fight, drink, and I chose drink. That's my biggest regret. But not just the drinking, not about knowing how to be gentle with myself or with her baby. This isn't my story, but it's one of the many stories. We are not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experience and trauma. And sometimes alcohol means survival.
I was 22 when I had her. Back then, no one talked about this stuff. FASD wasn't a word I'd ever heard. Alcohol was just part of surviving. I didn't drink every day, just on weekends mostly, enough to numb things. I thought if I ate good, if I prayed, she'd be okay. When she was a girl, people said she was different. Teachers called her lazy. Family called her wild. But I saw her trying. She was always trying. As she got older, the world got meaner to her. And I started to wonder, did I do this? I didn't want to believe it. Years passed. Now she got her own babies, and I see the way she struggles. I carry it like a stone in my chest. I don't want to talk about it. I want to say we didn't know. We were hurting too. But I still see the looks, still hear the whispers. What we need is for our community to hold us, not hate us. We can't lift the fog if we're too ashamed to step into the light. This isn't my story, but it's one of our stories. We are not just floating uteruses. We are humans with life experiences and trauma. Sometimes alcohol means survival.
Our campaign is about replacing judgment with connection and replacing why didn't she stop with why wasn't she supported? And most importantly, replacing silence with solutions rooted in Indigenous values. This isn't just about education, it's about transformation. We're building on-the-land healing camps for families affected by FASD, not just the kids, but the whole community. We're hosting online support groups for rural communities led by people with lived experience. We're empowering our community champions with toolkits and teachings so each community can carry their work their way. We're working with nutritionists, sensory specialists, and housing experts to meet people where they are. We're including elders and youth, not just professionals in the healing process. When we hear, why didn't she stop drinking? We need to answer, why was she using alcohol to cope in the first place? Why did no one see her pain? Why didn't the system offer her a plan B that worked? This work is about ending the cycle by understanding it. As one woman put it, if no one teaches you how to heal, you don't even know you're bleeding. Lifting the fog means seeing clearly, holding people with compassion, and preventing FASD by preventing the need to numb out. We're not here to shame mothers. We're here to build a strong Yukon where every child is born into safety and every parent is supported into healing. Masi cho to all those walking with us, survivors, caregivers, elders, and youth. The fog doesn't lift on its own. We lift it together.